Presentation starting right now. Thanks.
Good evening, guys and ladies. Have you all got a drink in you? Because I'm going to be way funnier if you have a drink in you than if you don't. Thank you so much for allowing me to come and talk to you tonight. I'm Dwayne Stewart, one of the co-founders of BC Hop Company. We actually started in 2015. It's right there on the logo. But we've been around since 1898. And I can prove that by the box that Alvaro was holding right there. That was a box of Dominion hops from Agassiz, dated the early 1900s. The date on it is established 1898. We know that that company was bought by Eli Horst and in 1905 and ran until 1954. And was then bought by the John I. Haas Company. And John I. Haas then owned all, by that time he also bought the Canadian Hop Company. And John I. Haas Company ended up owning all of the acreage of hops in the Fraser Valley. And by 1997, he had passed away in the 80s. By 1997, his son and the board decided to consolidate all of their farms from California, Idaho, Oregon, British Columbia to Yakima Valley, Washington. Today, the John I. Haas Company is the third largest hop producer in the world, and a bunch of their history begins in British Columbia, where we grew hops and harvested them by hand until the 1940s. Who here has harvested hops by hand? Who here would ever do it again? Okay, you didn't do enough. It's your second bind to try. I harvested literally this much one day for a sample that we did, and I said, well, we're never doing this again. I don't care who needs the sample, but we're not doing it again. Hops are very, very, very light. We're harvesting essential oils. The little lupulin glands in the hops are where the magic is. And you require, at the dried state, dried uncompressed, 4 cubic feet of hops for 1 pound. So that's why you get them in pellets, because you can move them around, you can store them, you can manage them a lot easier. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So the Fraser Valley has a strong history for hop growing. The old loose houses that you see there, you see people working in the fields. This is all really what went on for a long, long time. It disappeared for one reason: economics. 1997, that consolidation happened because there were still only 5 or 6 customers, really, worldwide for alpha hops. Aroma hops were a thing, and craft brewing had just begun, but it wasn't very significant. It was a very, very small, perhaps 5% of the overall market. Today, of course, we know they're coming back. They come back for the same reason. What is the economics that's driving it? Well, craft beer. We're sitting here, what you enjoy, what you create. The home brewing clubs may have been the only thing that was left in the 1930s when Prohibition was around. The number of brewers in the States went from 4,800 or so down to 0, and they've now climbed back to 4,800 or so, with a lot more population. But you're starting to see that return of craft beer. I don't need to tell you guys about that. Is this a fad? What does the room think? No. Craft beer a fad? No, it's not a fad. Why do you guys think it's not a fad? Besides, you love it. So take the emotion out of it.
How many decades?
Say again?
How many decades does it need to go on for before it's not a fad?
It's a fair point. Is there another fundamental reason?
I'm gonna drink beer until I die.
That's a fair reason. There's been lots and lots of people drinking beer until they die for a long time. I'm going to make the argument that it's not a fad because of the same thing we're talking about, economics. But the most important economics is the blue-collar math. Budweiser, you all know it, you've heard of it, versus a growler of beer. Never mind if this math is exactly right here, but it is representative. $13.75 for 6-pack, 19 cents per ounce. Craft beer, when taken from a place like Big Rock in your own growler, 17 cents per ounce. And I learned this math at a party in 2014 when a kid that I knew worked at McDonald's rolled up with a growler. And he started pouring this champagne craft beer. I said, so what are you doing drinking this expensive craft beer? And he said, well, it's not expensive, it's actually cheaper. I said, well, and I hear a kid. Yeah. Explain to me how this is cheaper. Of course, he doesn't have a lot of income, so he cares a lot about where his beer dollars go. He says, well, first of all, it costs less. I spent $11 or $12, and I get more alcohol. It tastes better. I like going to the brewery. I get more alcohol, and it's cheaper. So for him, it was a win. And when I realized that the kids have figured that out, and that the math works, that's why it's not fun, because the math works. And kudos to the Liberal government for helping make that real for the brewers in British Columbia. We have a much more vibrant community of craft brewers in BC, specifically because of the policies that you've seen in a craft brew friendly province versus what you see in Alberta, where they've only just figured out craft beer, and you only had the 5 big craft breweries for a long period of time. It's even worse in Saskatchewan, Manitoba. You can take it to Ontario. So having a government that supports craft beer, incredibly important. That's my plug for who you should vote for on the coming election. So if you like beer, vote Liberal. There you go. That's my bet. Okay, U.S. beer sales. Beer sales generally flat around the world, 1-2%. But it changed. But craft beer export, craft beer growth, definitely changing and in the positive cycle. We all know that. Where's the global industry today when it comes to hops? Germany and the United States. This is a little bit of an old graph. You can see the data. I'm trying to find access to a newer graph, but we know that the States has actually overtaken Germany percentage-wise. The States is now just more than 50% of the split between Germany and the United States.
So where's Canada on there?
Canada is, as of this year, the first year that Canada showed up on the USGA hop growing. The answer is it's not, by the way. I'll go back to that graph. It's not on there. We're not even in other in 2014. And even the 2016 documentation, which I have seen, were listed incorrectly at about 75 acres. So
Got to be ahead of China.
we're not ahead of China. That's for sure.
We've got more beautiful space.
World production about 96 million tons, and about 50 million of that coming from the United States now. Can the industry keep up? I got to get some new graphs because what you're starting to see is the industry is in fact keeping up. The hop growers in the States have caught up to demand, and they're starting to exceed demand on certain varieties. That said, craft beer uses almost 10% of the world's hop supply to create 1% of the world's beer by volume. They use way more hops, and of course that's why we're in the business of growing hops for craft brewers as opposed to macro beer, because does macro beer use actual hops in its organic or in its green state, even in a pellet? No, they use liquid. You guys probably know that. The industry will continue to grow. So this is a memorandum that was done by our good friends at Persephone. And by the way, you should all sign the petition for Persephone to make sure that they're supported, and I think that will happen in the coming fall. The estimated total size market will be hops and BC craft brewers, 450 to 500 acres under full production. That's based on 2014 numbers. I think that's probably about 30% bigger now. 47 hops, talking about irrational exuberance. He's talking about .com here, but there is an argument for not oversupplying the marketplace, not putting in more hop yards than we can sustain in a given industry. And what we've tried to do at the BC Hop Company is focus on hyper-local and hyper-quality, the highest quality hops that we can produce. And we'll talk about that because we believe that's the only thing that's going to allow us to survive the coming years. Who knows who this guy is? You recognize Matt Phillips at Phillips Brewery. So I met Matt Phillips at a conference in 2015. We're getting ready to put our first poles in the ground, and I'm very excited about talking to a real brewer, a big, respected brewer like Matt. And I went up to him and said, Matt, we're gonna be growing hops, and I'd love to sell you some when they're ready. He goes, that's great. When they're ready, you bring them to me. I'll smell them, and if I like what you have, then we can totally talk about buying them. I said, Matt, I'm going to go spend like $3 million in 2 years of my life, and then you're going to smell it? Like, really? How do I know the smell that's in your head? How do I prepare for the smell that's in your head? And of course, I didn't actually say that to him, but that's what was going through my mind. And I realized that, of course, he's going to smell. Of course, a brewer, a craftsperson, is going to care about the ingredients that go into their beer. Of course, they're going to make sure it's of a high quality, meets their needs, and meets or exceeds what they expect. So we worked very hard from that point on to make sure that we were going to be able to get Matt Phillips smelling our hops and happy. And that's a picture of Matt Phelps actually smelling our fresh hops this past season. So how do you harvest hops? Not by hand, we've covered that. Our farms are stretched from Agassiz to Abbotsford. We have 9 farm locations. Our concept is preserving family farms. Land in the Fraser Valley is ridiculously expensive. I mean, if you own apartment buildings, let alone acreages, it's very hard to own quality land unless you've already owned it for a generation or two. The challenge that's happening out there now is those people that have owned land in the Fraser Valley, that generation that's now going to take control over it may or may not wish to continue to farm it. And what we're able to do is to talk to those families and provide a revenue source by allowing us to build and operate fields on their land and share the profit with them, thereby bringing new investment to their property, new opportunity for revenue, and still have access to a world-class facility for processing it, so they're not meeting some of the challenges and failures that we're seeing with hop farmers that show up with bags of hops to brewers expecting, kind of like I did, hey Matt, I'm a local guy growing hops, you're going to buy this, of course, right? Well, no, I'm not going to buy your garbage bag full of terrible green moldy stuff. You know, it's got to meet that international standard that's been established by the suppliers for hops that we're currently buying from. We're buying from Yakima. I'm buying a high quality pellet, pelletized T90 pellet hop. That's what I use in my beer. Of course, the brewer is going to expect at least that entry level of quality for the long term, and we've not seen that in Canada very often in my experience. So we went out, we acquired a Wolf 513. That's a from Wolf Geisenfeld in Germany. This will run about 500 hops binds per hour at peak production, if it's moving correctly. Once it's picked, it moves into a short-term storage or our hop silo. From that point, we then move from the hop silo to this long escalator. That's my mom in the bottom right-hand corner there. I'm wondering what the hell is going on. Short story about my mom. My mom's a wonderful Christian lady who never had a beer in her life. And when we said to her we're going to start growing hops, and she knew it was for beer, she goes, "Well, I don't know if we can do that." I said, "Mom, don't worry, we're not growing beer. We're only growing essential oils." And to my mother's endearing credit, she goes, "Essential oils? I can get behind that." So she got behind the essential oil production that we're doing here. This is our kiln where we laid the hops out at about a 14-inch thickness. Have you guys seen the pictures of the hops drying in Yakima? See the guys walking through with their giant snowshoes and they put the big thing and stick it down to 3 or 4 feet of hops. What happens when you do that is they take direct-fired diesel fans or direct-fired natural gas fans and they blow the exhaust and the heat into a big room, and then it goes up underneath 3 or 4 feet of hops for about 12 to 16 hours. Then you've got a little bit wet on top, kind of pretty good in the middle, and really dry on the bottom. They then roll that into a giant room, as big as that brewery or bigger, and then they drive around on it with bobcats and mix it up for another day and a half until it conditions, and then they bale it, and then it gets pelletized. That whole process takes 2 to 3 days, 4 days at the outside, not faster than 2. And that's how it's done in the States. That's 1930 technology with some 1980s technology on the front end, and that's how it's done. The Germans have figured out that if you want to get the freshest hop out of the field into a bale, you need to dry with low heat, high air, and rapidly. Because what's the greatest threat to your hops? What's that? Time, which is equal to oxygen. Oxygen exposure is what's going to hurt those essential oils. So the less time and the less oxygen exposure we have, the fresher it's going to be when it hits the bale. So this kiln does that. These are the fans underneath. There's no scale. I got to get a human in that picture. There's no scale. You can know how big that is, but it's a giant fan room. This is the tray that then rolls out of the kiln onto the conditioning box below. That's the baler, and that's the final box. And that's my cousin Brian, who runs the operational side of it. I'm going to do a video for you here before we move on. And I lost the video. Oh, I'm messing around, lost the video. Okay. So here we go. This is the harvest process happening in September of last year. So the hops come out of the field in bins that are then transported to the Wolf machine. This is actually a machine in operation here, dragging in the hop vines. They get separated out, and the leaves and stems go out the back, and the hops come out the side. This is another shot. You saw the picture earlier. This is the silo where they're sitting temporarily. This is the kiln actually getting filled. Up top, you get a bit of scale, a bit of idea of size. Here, these vents here all tilt to allow that to drop through at the emptying stage. When that's done, this gets pulled. This is the big tray that gets pulled out. And the conditioning boxes are actually the secret sauce of the process, and I'll talk about that at the end here. There's the dried hops. The smell in there is that smell-o-vision.
How long does it take to dry?
We do this entire process in less than 24 hours. As fast as 16. From pick to bale. 16 to bale.
Okay.
16 to 24 hours. We really can't do it faster than 16. That's the bale, and that's the final step at our facility in Abbotsford. And the last step in our True North process is pelletization. We actually take the entire crop and ship it down to Oregon for the actual pelletization process. Crosby Farms in Oregon has the best pelletization facility that we visited 5 facilities in Yakima in the region, and Crosby by far has the best soft pellet technology. So we've got, Don, if you want to pass around the unmarked samples, you get a couple of the, not the whole box, just it's in the box, it's full of these. So I need a couple of these going. You can open this up. That's a Cascade Centennial blend, not the one that's sealed, not the one that's sealed. Yeah, there you go. So these are some samples you guys can open or not. I got a feel of we got one over there. So we got so many to go around here. This table here, you guys can have one table. So the most important thing to know about your hop pellet is what process did it go through the very end between the bale. So the farms in Yakima produce a product similar to this in a bale form. Can I get one of the? So the change then is from the bale to the pellet itself, and that transition is really important. If you do it wrong, and you put it through a modified wood pelletizer, you're going to heat this up to such a degree that you're going to burn the oils, and you might actually put a casing on the other side of it. Have you guys ever done a dry hop where you've had pellets left over in a pellet form at the bottom of your barrel? If you've ever seen that, that's a pellet that's been caramelized and hasn't stuck around too long. This pellet here, you can put your finger into it, and it's going to crush incredibly easily. It's got very little resistance. You can see how soft it is. This soft pellet technology means there's a lot of resins in here. All of the freshness that we're able to extract out of the hops and put into the bale lands in this pellet. The color from the outside, one way we can check it is the color on the outside, the color on the inside should be basically the same. And when you crush it, you should get, I can get the smells, 2 feet away. You should get lots and lots of hop aroma off your pellet immediately when you start crushing it. And you should not, when you crush it, it should be very consistent and even. You should see basically a powder, that's the result. You shouldn't see leaves, you shouldn't see stems, you shouldn't see anything that doesn't look consistent in nature. If you do, a T90 pellet should not have any leaves or stems in it in a kind of a whole form. Obviously the leaves are in here and the stem of the hop is obviously been crushed up in here. Every bag of pellets that you get should have an analysis on the bag. Even the sample I just gave you has a mini analysis on it. It has the year, it has the alpha, it has the beta, and I think it has the HSI on that as well. If you get a bag of pellets that says Citra, Bob's Hop Company, You sure it's Citra? Are you sure it's anything that it says, unless it's got some of that detail? You should know the origin of your hop. You should be able to trace it back ultimately to the field. You should at least be able to trace it back to the producer, if not to the actual farmer, his or herself. So you should have some confidence that what you're looking at is what you're paying for is what you're getting. I think that's my time. What time is it?
Are you guys thinking about doing hop powder?
Here you go. No.
Hop powder is like a big thing.
Hop hash, you mean? Like the actual?
Yeah, hop hash.
Yeah. The hash actually comes from the pelletization process.
Yeah.
So
No, there's different ways of doing it, but sure.
yeah, we actually get a bit of it on the baler, which is the resin kind of getting
You
left
sell
behind. we scrub it off at this point. This is kind of messy by the time
I'll
we're done.
trade you.
You come over for cleaning. You come on, clean it up. You can have whatever you clean off.
Okay, that sounds like a great
We
deal.
can totally arrange that. Sure.
So economically, a lot of the interest that's coming out of Yak for craft brewers in Yakima, their hops is because of certain really super sexy varieties.
Yes.
And big brewers are hopping from one variety to the next and banking a real splash from that. How as a smaller Canadian company are you going to counter the Mosaic and the Simcoe and whatever the next really fast hop is that everyone's going to fall the dog up over with?
So in your packages here, you've got a hop called Lumberjack, and that's
Lumberjack, I love.
that's my answer to your question. So Lumberjack is a hop that we've trademarked, and it is my answer to that question at the moment. Ultimately, it's an open marketplace, and we have to provide a level of quality, a level of cachet and terroir within the publicly available varieties. So we're growing cashmere, we're growing lumberjack, we have the 3 big C's. We're adding 2 more varieties to that list, and I'm working on what those are going to be so that they answer that question as much as possible, because that's a very, very important
Actually,
discussion.
we made a huge beer with lumberjacks that you can taste on Sunday at the hop circuit. The thing this weekend
Awesome.
At which brewery?
at Cole Harbor.
Perfect. So that's what we're trying to do, sir.
On your pie chart, like how many hops are going in which countries, 2014 or whatever it was, in Canada you register. Do you have an idea of what we were like in the heyday of BC hops, like in the 20s, 30s,
Yeah.
whatever that was?
In 1948, British Columbia produced more hops than any other country in the world for the British Empire. So we have a stat. Now, what that actual number is, I don't know the number. But what you can find in the record is that BC, and of course that makes sense. That what's happening in 1948 is the end of World War II. All the hop fields in Europe were decimated, and that was a big reason for that, I think. But we had the flood of '48, and after the flood of '48 in Agassiz, that actually marked the decline of the industry, and you can trace the industry decline from '48 to '97. But we were big at one point. Yeah.
You mentioned you've got 9 farms working with you. How many acres does it actually cover?
We'll be at 205 acres for Harvest 2019, and that's our cap for that facility.
I heard at the peak that it was something like 56,000 acres of hops.
In the United States.
In BC.
That's not true at
Is that
all.
not it?
That's not true in any way, shape, or form. That is all of the United States.
What are your big hops that you're growing through that acreage?
Our 5 varieties. They're split pretty evenly across those varieties. Lumberjack, Cashmere, Centennial, Cascade, and Chinook.
So recently, I know about pellet hops, I know about whole hops, but I recently was reading something about plugs. Do you know anything about
A plug, a 1 pound plug?
Well, they were just small things. It looked like.
There are some puck, and I've heard the word puck used. There's a couple different ways of pelletizing it. So basically, you have a giant.
It's big old pellet, basically.
It's basically what it is. So it's actually, if you look at the Dominion, that box of Dominion hops, that's like an old school version of what you're talking about. Yeah. So it's just somebody else saying, well, I don't want to invest in a giant T90 pellet plant. What can I do instead?
So there's no benefit to them?
I have no opinion.
No, the lumberjack is fantastic.
I used to sell them back in the 90s. They were just like about a quarter to a half ounce wad of compressed coal hops. And they were sold back to back.
So you have a little hobby farm, you grow hops, and you can do a little lumberjack compressor, and so we just save your own hops. Like commercially available format usually.
Alvaro, you had a question?
Yeah, it was already answered. Which of the varieties?
Got it. All right. What variety would you guys want to see besides the big four?
Yeah, I think Citra everyone wants, right?
Is it
What?
proprietary or is it?
Oh yeah, Citra Mosaic. How about Amarillo? You guys,
Mosaic.
What about some of the new German?
why I love-hate relationship with Amarillo?
Yeah, what about some German hops?
It's very distinct.
Wrong part of the world.
What about like middle fruit?
They taste differently.
Or back to Kent buildings and
I think I'll first thing like some of the new German varieties.
I don't know what I'm aware of some of the new German varieties, but they're propagated for German climate, and I don't know enough about. I know that we don't. The style of hop that's grown in the Pacific Northwest and the style that's grown in the Hallertau region are different. And one thing I've learned through this process is to trust my ancestors. The reason we don't growing hops in Delta, there's a reason for that. We don't grow hops in Prince George and Fort St. John. There's a reason for that. So and I get calls from people in weird places. I'm like, well, go find a history of hop growing in your region, and if you can find one, then let's talk. But if you can't find a history of it, don't be the first guy. Where they're coming back to Michigan and New York, they have a history of it working. And some of the new more disease-resistant varieties can help them out. So I'd be very concerned about our diseases. That's the biggest reason why I would say, not so much.
Another one, can you speak maybe a bit more of the history of the lumberjack and what the characteristics are of it?
Donna, can you throw me a lumberjack? You have to crack a new one. Is that hard? It'll say right on top. I'm just saying that my personal opinion is that if your region in North America did not historically grow hops at any point that you can find, there's some reason for it. The reason they didn't grow hops in Delta is because it's so close to the ocean. Hops first were grown in British Columbia and Saanich, and they moved off the island because of mold and mildew issues. They went to the driest place they could find in the valley, and that's Agassiz. They don't grow so well in Kelowna and southern Osoyoos because of the extreme heat that they can get there. They wilt, and it's not good in that scenario. So I just know that's my personal respect for history. I'm not saying it couldn't be done or it's technically impossible. I'm just saying there's often a reason, and sometimes it's the soil, the drainage. You got to have the right level of drainage. The right level of flat. Hops do not grow well on angles, not because the hops won't grow. It's because the people that have to work in the hops don't do well falling off trellises at 30 degrees. So 18 feet in the air, you've got to be 90 degrees to the ground. So that's one of the big challenges. So I'll read you the lumberjack back, which I haven't got memorized yet. The aroma for lumberjack can be described as predominantly bitter with notes of melon, sweet citrus, and spice-like cloves and allspice. A slight earthiness softens this hop, producing a pleasant mouthfeel. There's a lot of noble hop characteristics to it. We searched for a hop that had good agronomic value. As a hop farmer, we want pounds per acre. One of the reasons I won't grow Citra is because the pounds per acre number is actually fairly low. Centennial, we stopped expanding Centennial because our actual experience with Centennial, pounds per acre, very low. Lumberjack, great pounds per acre, candidly, and I think a really great product as it matures and grows out. And we just thought it was a really, really cool name, and so we've trademarked it, and it's you're living the life there. The alphas on last year's, and so this is a first year hop, so it will. The total oils will go up, but the alphas won't move a lot. So 11.5, beta 3.9, total oils 1.1. I expect the 1.1 to go up to about 1.3 or 1.4. HSI of 0.272, so super fresh.
Yeah.
And for first year, we were happy with what we got.
Sort of bred that for more aroma hop, or not for bittering. What was it kind of designed for?
I think it's a great hop for pilsners, lagers, Hefeweizen. It's not a great IPA hop. I'm not saying you couldn't make an IPA out of it, but it doesn't jump out to me as a double IPA friendly hop. But it's got a real it's interesting and different. And I think there's lots of opportunity to try. I want to hear from you guys. Try to. We're going to give away 2 sample boxes here tonight, and we're also giving away some Hopfest growlers. Shameless plug, September 30th. We have our Hopfest out at the farm, and I'm going to offer that if you guys come out to Abbotsford in June or July. June. Yeah. If you guys want to come out, you want to extend 10 minutes, come to the farm. You're welcome to do so. We can hook you up with that. But come out to Hopfest. We'll have live bands, all fresh beer, 35 breweries, all of them showcasing at least one fresh beer, September 30th. And pre-sales end April 30th. So if you go on our website, get the link. But they're actually on sale right now, so the 30th, and the prices go back up 10%.
Great. Do you have any last questions, or maybe wrap it up and thank Dwayne for the presentation?
Can we purchase these hops?
Donna here, our hop merchant here, will hook you up. And our web store is going to go live in the next measured in hours. Fighting with my I met some IT guys here today. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.